media person, well, a couple things. Your media guy takes very good, gets a lot of information out because I'm on the chat list and we got 6,700 members, and that stuff spreads out quick. And the other thing too is I appreciate the fact that the town board puts their commissioner meetings on YouTube. That makes it so much easier, and it's also your media person sends out the summary after that to the, and it goes, I know it goes out to the media and the chat list, so that's really good, makes it easy to find. Ashibo Rojas, who writes for the Chatham News and Record, actually watched it to get all that information on that sports portion of the last meeting. So.
Nice. Yeah, we got a good Colby and Caitlin.
Yes, they're great.
It's nice to be a town this size with everything that we have going on to have a comms team, which is pretty rare for a town this size. I mean, even having 2 people in a comms department for any town under probably 50,000 is rare. So I appreciate that the board supports the staff in that way, because the second staff person was more their idea than it was ours. They just called and said, "Hey, can y'all use some more help, social media, whatever?" And we're like, "Absolutely, if you want to allocate the money." And the next meeting, they pulled the trigger. So hats off to the board for doing that one.
Yeah, because Colby came on a few years ago as well. He's been doing a good job.
Yeah, he's what we call a unicorn, because they've got so many. He's got so many good skills in so many areas, and you're typically not going to find somebody like that. Because if he were to leave us and we put his job description out as it is right now, there's probably not a whole lot of people that could fill those shoes.
What else is on the list?
Oh. Any truth to the rumor that we're going to be parallel parking in downtown?
That is not true.
Okay, thank God.
No,
I was about to get angry. Did you see that?
That
I
has
was
gone
like,
back and forth every which way, hasn't it?
No, the new streetscape design is basically how downtown is currently laid out and built, except it'll all be new. So you'll still have the steps, still have the railings, brick sidewalks.
You're not taking out the trees?
I don't think so.
Because he takes out trees all the time.
It is not on our plan.
Actually, he gave me a recommendation on a guy,
Oh,
Jesus.
yeah, he knows people. He's anti-tree. This is
Yeah,
the
look.
most anti-tree guy I've ever seen.
So,
Especially really big trees that have been around forever.
well, this guy, 2016, we bought the land in Soto. There were some trees behind it that had been cut off, and then trees grew out of the stumps, and they were hanging over the buildings. So we actually called a tree guy because the goal was to see if we could save them or what should we do. Their answer was those things gotta go.
They're dead. They were dead.
Yep.
So I tell Eric I'm doing this, and I schedule it for the Friday after Thanksgiving at sunup.
And he sends me a picture of them cutting it down.
And so he puts on Facebook the Great Thanksgiving Day Tree Massacre in Pittsboro of 2017. And we had people up there just pissed. Like, dude.
Well, you know what?
What are friends for?
They can voice their grievances at the Festivus poll that they have up there. And I'm actually going to make that into an event. I think I can round up people who
When
want
the Roadhouse first left, I put like a 4-foot by 4-foot sign in the window for lease, and somebody wrote underneath it, "Now be done." That was good. That was good.
That's good work.
That was good work right there. If you're gonna do some graffiti, at least make it fun.
Yeah, I noticed that they had the guys, somewhat kids, out with the graffiti, the rooftops.
Oh yeah.
And I was going to
S&Ts.
ran the drone, but at that point, you guys had gotten that all repainted. It's all nice and. Maybe I shouldn't say something because someone's going, "Oh yeah, brand new canvas."
Steve sent me a picture just a couple weeks ago of somebody else crawling.
Oh really?
Yeah, well, we put a fence up so you can't sneak around from the backside of the hospital. And put several cameras out front and one right there. And the kids have shown better sense because AI is allowing it to tell me when a person's up there. And so when they go, it then will say there's a person, person detected. And so I'm getting ready to do
Yeah,
it.
one of those automatic machine guns.
No, I sent it to the town. They're not interested.
They're not interested in all.
No.
No, I can imagine that.
There's this
Don
gun
Terrace.
that you can remote operate in coordination with your Ring camera and shoot people with paintballs for the riot patrol rubber bullets. That's not a joke.
Maybe you don't need to hear that.
But Teresa and Randy weren't interested. I'm like, this is a new century solution, and you guys are behind the times, but they're not in.
Well, the other thing I wanted to talk about, and I think it's all relevant to all of us here, Powell and what's the Seaforth guy's name? Stevenson?
Jarin, but they're not playing together.
No,
I know, right? That's what we're talking about.
Yeah, and it's
Wow.
actually, if you listen to Andrew Jones' podcast on Tar Heel Illustrated, one of the best two sports reporters I know. I've known him for 2 dozen years. He's like, his thinking is that, well, I know he knows more than what he posted out there, but Drake probably has talked with a team or two on the NBA side who feel that he's got potential, and even if he lands up in the G League, he's going to probably land up playing his natural position, and you saw him in high school, he's got that ability to advance to where, even if he lands up in the G League, if he does what
I
he
don't
needs
even know
to
what
do,
the G League is. I don't know what the G League is. What's the G League?
it's a sub
Minor leagues for the NBA.
NBA.
And so you can get drafted to the G League.
Yeah, it's just like with baseball. You could get drafted and land up playing for the minors.
Yeah, there's
But-
only Greensboro.
But you see, okay, what I was going to say is, you see minor league baseball games. I've never seen a G League basketball game.
We don't have one around here.
We don't.
One in Greensboro.
Really?
That's where Armando ended up.
Okay.
And the thing is, he's probably going to make less money than he will if he stayed with
At
NIL.
Carolina,
But he was. Andrew's feeling is that he was playing. He started a lot of games last year, but he was not playing in his position that he needed to. But I'm not. I mean, the bad thing about Jarin not being there and Drake together, they played off of each other well that freshman year in Northwood. I mean, they complemented each other well.
I don't know.
Well,
It's none
was
of
he
my
was he a
business.
disappointment at Alabama? Only scored 4.5, 5.5. I'm asking. Why is that so controversial to say? I mean,
Oh, it's not. I don't think it's
what he was,
controversial.
the reason why he picked Alabama is because he expected to go there for 1 year and then go into the draft.
That's one of the things.
So he needs more time to develop, or
Yeah, plus he's closer to home. I mean, mom and dad and his.
does he need to put
They're here.
meat on the bones for that position, or is he playing?
I don't know. I guess we'll see a lot how he develops.
So he's playing a 4 at 6'11". He's playing a 4.
Who, Jarin? I'm not sure what position
No.
he's playing.
Because shouldn't he be a 5?
What, they haven't finalized it. Plus, they got to find a replacement for Drake because apparently Drake's probably not coming back.
Right.
At least that's what he's saying he won't be.
And this G League is better than playing in Europe.
I don't know.
Somebody can
I
answer
don't
that
know
question.
that a lot of the kids who go to the G League are capable of playing in Europe. It ain't like Europe's the minor leagues anymore.
Right. Yeah.
And we were just in Serbia, and I can tell you right now, the people in Serbia are crazier for basketball than anyone in the United States is.
Good.
You will not.
Did you have problems getting tickets or something?
Oh yeah, you can't get tickets. You know, it's 20,000 seat hall. It's a relatively poor country, but what they spend money on is basketball tickets. And it's a different thing. And Americans, top to bottom, are getting soft, for lack of a better way of saying it. If you look,
Yeah, that UFC.
well, look how many of those look how many of those guys are from overseas. You know, you look in the NBA and look at the top 20 players and how many of them ain't from around here, and their mentality is hard. You know, they grew up in war-torn countries,
Dodging bullets.
dodging bullets literally.
That'll toughen you up.
Yeah.
I mean, to your point, it is a major concern for the armed forces. That looking at the country as a whole and saying we're not battle ready if we have to go.
Yeah, JFK Jr. had mentioned that in his press conference as well. Look, you only got 2 minutes. We can talk about all the other stuff. How about what do you see happening? Big things happening over the next 2 to 5 years here in Pittsboro.
So 2 to 5, we're probably going to focus on our facilities because 2 years ago, Parks and Rec was operating out of a residential shed behind the community house. So I just signed the contract today to renovate the Public Works building. We're likely going to build another 7,200 square foot public works building at the Diane Street lot. Then Public Works would move into that. Parks and Rec will then take the renovated building. So then those two departments are set probably 15, 20 years. Looking at probably a $2.5, $3 million renovation at the police department. That'd be an expansion. Moving them into the old town hall was, I think, always the plan. But they've got a couple of office spaces open, but that's going to be our fastest growing department in terms of size. So I'd imagine that building will be insufficient for them in the next 2 to 3 years. So we need to go ahead and start planning on expanding that.
You're talking about the police department.
Yeah, the old town hall on East Street.
Okay, yeah.
So we just signed a contract with Hobbs to do some pre-planning for another town hall, and it will not be the same location as the last planned one, nor will it be a building anywhere similar to what was previously planned. So we did meet with Hobbs to try to reuse those plans because the town invested a pretty decent amount of money in those. But that had 2 floors that were meant for the county, and so reusing those plans would basically require an entire redesign anyway. And so we're just going to start from scratch and move on.
Are y'all moving into Chatham Park?
That is not my intention.
Okay.
No. I've got a site picked out. Can't talk about it because we're still in negotiations. But it would be a completely new site and completely different approach to the building. We'll likely build something that fits our needs for the next 5 years, with a expansion piece designed so that way in 5 or 10 years we add on and then we're all good.
Last question for me, the skate park. You're close to finishing that up, and when do you think it's going to open up?
I got staff over there now grading, doing all the grading work. So for anybody out there that's going to build a skate park, be very specific about what the line items say, because fine grading to a skate park builder is much different than fine grading to anyone else who does construction, apparently. So we ended up doing all that ourselves. Our insurance company, when we first met with them, said, "Oh yeah, if Artisan's building it, you're good." And then they came out and looked at it and said, "Oh, you're going to need a fence."
Right.
So all the money had essentially been spent to build the skate park as was designed, as we were told was fine. So we had to go find some extra money to put the fencing up, obviously do the grading in-house so we can save money there. My expectation would be a couple of weeks, which means probably a month, because we got to get the grading done, the fence installed, and then we want to try to get some lighting put up, signage, get the bleachers out there, and then we'd love to have a ribbon cutting and hopefully get somebody out there that maybe a couple of semi-pros to.
Well, there's one in the county who spoke at the 79 West. I was going to reach out to him, and if you don't mind, do a walkthrough with him and have him, because I think he's excited about that as well. And definitely supports it.
Anything you can do to help to market it and push it out that it's open.
Okay, I'll reach out to him.
And we're supposed to accept the 72 acres at Robeson Creek next to the plant. That acceptance should come in May, I'm hoping, maybe June, and then we'll start planning. We've already got our stakeholder committee picked out who will help us design that park, and I think that's Katie's next project in Parks and Rec, is taking some of our fee and lieu money that we've been collecting from developers and then putting it there.
So how much is the Pittsboro Parks and Rec? Because I talked to Tracy Burnett at the Egg Roll and Springfest. Chatham County's Parks and Rec is going too. It sounds like Pittsboro's Park and Rec is going too.
It will. I mean, we went from, 10 years ago, one person who was the Parks and Rec department, and I think the town always probably needed a maintenance crew for Parks and Rec because the parks weren't being kept up as they should be, and so we're getting better at that. I think now we have a crew of 4 plus 2 admin, 1 doing programs, and then of course Katie running the department. I see that probably doubling in the next 5-6 years with all these parks coming on board. We just got the Chatham Park South Village area plan park map today, so we've been working on that for the last 4 months, trying to get those specifically located. And I think now it's kind of assigning what those parks are going to be, so that's going to be a larger discussion. And then putting a dollar amount to it so we can figure out how we implement all this stuff over the next 20, 30 years.
You mentioned downtown. I talked with John Bonnets. There's been discussions about raising the limit as to how tall the buildings can get. Is that in discussion? Are we talking 5 stories or?
I think the board would entertain whatever someone would send it.
Okay.
I think within reason, right? You're not going to go build a 10-story building on Salisbury Street. But if a developer comes in and has a product that fits it and it's not going to completely ruin the look of downtown, I'm sure they'd look at it. And I know Cooper's Ridge, which is the property south of McDonald's. That's already been submitted. That's going up for review May, June, July.
Oh, that
And
interests me.
that's got an
Is that gonna be a hotel, or you can't say?
It's mixed use.
yeah, mixed use. It's mainly commercial, but they are keeping a residential component with it just in case. And part of that is 85 feet. And so the illustrative that we've seen is the same one that they built at Sweetwater on 64. And so that'll be kind of the first time that the board will get to crack that egg and see what the board's interest is in height.
That property's been under contract several times before, and we had so much interest in it, but that development group came in with the right expectations, already having worked with the town before and knowing what they needed to do to get it done. So they've been real good to work with.
Yep, I actually was on the phone with Yezin before I came in here, just
great
checking
guy,
the
great
checking
guy.
the final.
Yep.
You know,
So a lot of good stuff coming up.
Lots of good stuff.
I would, other places I've worked, I've been able to know every single project that was going on, all the details, the cost, who was working on it, from beginning to end. Here, I struggle just to remember what my name is and what it is I'm doing that day.
He's developing plausible deniability.
Yeah,
Do you feel like you're juggling balls a lot of times, and then you kind of figuratively step away and go, "Holy cow! I got a whole bunch of stuff going on," and then get back to juggling those balls again?
When we did the state of the town, last August, some of the staff, we were sitting there going through all the accomplishments. You could just see it, everybody's face, like, wow, that is wild that we've been able to get that much done in this short amount of time. And I think that's going to continue. We're going to have highs and lows in terms of projects coming in, and I think with this force main being put in, we really need to prepare to get run over in the next probably 12 months. I got a feeling once it's out that sewer's available.
Well, I remember I was in your office and somebody walked in because they were wanting to open up a new restaurant and started asking you a whole bunch of questions. So.
Yeah, I mean, 25 years ago, I had to explain to people where Pittsboro was, and now I go to a state realtor association meeting, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, Pittsboro!" I mean, it's top of the mind awareness now. They know who we are and where we are.
Yep. Because I got kind of, I won't say mobbed, but a lot of my colleagues that I went through school with and have been keeping up with through our careers, who are other managers in other places, we're just like, what's going on? And so, this Disney thing brought a lot of attention. I think just them announcing they were coming has increased the amount of attention that Chatham Park has gotten for its other properties.
Yeah.
And so I think it's only helped.
Yeah.
Well, if you go into Google News and put that as a Disney Asteria as a search thing and get emails on it, there's something out there going, and it's not just it's not just this area in North Carolina. It's from all over the country.
Well, and I'm using Pittsboro and Disney as the one still like hopeful ray of light, because we've had some disappointment we got all excited about VinFest and then what, and we've even recently had some disappointment announcements with Wolfspeed. Toyota seems to be doing okay, Sanford seems to be doing okay, but the shining beacon of Chatham County right now is Pittsboro, Disney, and everything that's going on.
All right.
Anything else?
We can suck up to Jonathan for a minute. Thank you for
Good
changing
job.
the town for the better.
Yep.
We
Yeah, no doubt.
appreciate it, and we notice.
Well, no, I mean, really, it's everybody, right? Because if you don't have investors putting money into the community, especially the small projects, everything downtown will just get left behind. Obviously, you do your part. You're always at events showcasing what's going on. So without
Actually, got 11,000 views doing a 2-minute video of Chatham Park with their music.
And this
thing
is
they
probably
have.
going to get
Nice.
20, 25.
But
total, like 25 total.
No, we're going to get complaints from women. How come we don't have any women? Actually, let me ask one last question. My dad was an architectural draftsman in New York City, and when we've gone up there, I've been able to show my kids, hey, your granddaddy worked on that building, or your granddaddy worked on that building, and some of them are pretty famous buildings. Are you getting to the point where you're able to say, hey, here's stuff that I have worked on here in this community?
We're getting there.
Okay.
But, I'm not interested in notoriety for building stuff.
Not notoriety, but I mean, it's nice to build stuff that you can show off to your kids and say, hey, I helped make this what it is right now.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely came here because of part of the growth opportunity and everything that this place, offers. But I'm from Climax, North Carolina, so home is 30 minutes down the road. So this was.
I'm gonna try not to make a joke here.
Have at it, man. Have at it.
Well, I just had my first sale in Climax this week.
First time.
And how did Penny feel about that?
See, I knew what I was walking into.
But I do got to run. But one
Yeah.
last thing I do want to point to is the Streetscape project. We just submitted another grant with our Congress lady. The next one we'll be doing is probably through Golden Leaf. Hopefully, trying to get.
They're good.
I mean, right now we're short about $1 million on a $5 million project, so we're getting really close. But we're already starting to work on our communications plan with downtown businesses and the community as a whole, and hopefully we'll roll that out here in the next 3 to 4 months, because that's going to be huge to make sure everybody's aware of when it starts, what it's going to look like, timeline, where the auxiliary parking lots are, since Main Street's going to be kind of torn up. And that's another reason why we got that lot on Thompson Street.
Yeah.
Now, it would be great if we could get everybody behind Hillsborough Street to the east to work together to make that parking lot more cohesive and useful instead of it looking like a prison. But that's my last comment on that little project that fell through. So.
All right, well, thank you very
We
much.
appreciate everything you do.
I will drop you a note when this is up, and
All right.
we appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Now what are we talking? We're not gonna have anything to talk about now.
We can talk about the pizza.
Let's talk about Jonathan.